Henry Ford is one of the top research hospitals and systems in the world. The head of this study, the vaccinated versus unvaccinated study that's at the heart of this, he ran the Moderna trials for Henry Ford. So he was a huge part of approving the Moderna vaccine. So all of this to say that we have a real problem now, because Henry Ford is not the only vaccinated versus completely unvaccinated comparative study that we've seen. There's several others. There's one by Dr. Brian Hooker and Neil Miller. There is one by Dr. Paul Thomas that was done on all of the patients in his very large pediatric practice, where he compared vaccinated to unvaccinated. There's a couple by Dr. Andrew Mawson from the University of Mississippi that did a homeschool study. But what I can tell you is this: the Henry Ford study is mirroring those other studies. In fact, of every study that's ever compared the health outcomes of vaccinated versus unvaccinated, we are seeing what we call reproducible science now, which means it's coming out with, a similar signal. And that signal is that the vaccinated are the sickest. If you compare the vaccinated to the unvaccinated, the vaccinated are doing far worse. And you can see that in all those other studies. And so now Henry Ford, this study really is alarming, because it's the first time we've seen a study like this done by what I would call our opposition. Those of us that have been, a part of the vaccine risk awareness movement or medical freedom movement or MAHA, whatever you want to call us. We've been saying, look at the Neil Miller study, look at the Brian Hooker, and, look at all these other studies. But we've never seen a medical institution that is clearly states that is pro-vaccine. Dr. Zerbo says over and over again, I'm pro-vaccine. I'm the reason they have a mandated vaccine program here at Henry Ford. This is all in the film with the recorded footage that we have. But we really believe he did this study to prove us wrong. He did this study to prove the other studies wrong, which is, honestly, if that's what you've done and you come out with the same result, I think that is very, very powerful scientific evidence. And now we've really got to think about it. And remember, this study wasn't seeing like a 20% increase or 50% increase or 80% increase in chronic disease. It was a 250% increase in chronic disease. Neurodevelopmental disorders, nearly 5.5 times the amount. So a 550% increased risk of having a neurodevelopmental disorder. We have gone from 12% chronic illness in the 1980s in America to now over 54% of our kids are chronically sick. And our children are really suffering because there is not good science behind this. In fact, there is no science. It's a pile